so far? I'm going to give you some time to find out, try to jog your mind and see if you have any questions or anything that comes into your mind. Yeah, can you hear me better now? Somebody, Priyanshu Bhanu has just said that your voice is breaking in between. Is it better now? Hello, is anybody able to hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. Fine. Yeah, so my question is that do you have any question that you want to ask at this point of time? Okay, I'm guessing not.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Huh.
In the exam, you have said that we have to attend, but it is not compulsory to attend. The
No,
star mark wasn't there, so
you're not. You're not audible. Okay, so I'm guessing Priyanshu will ask your question later. Fine. Okay. So if nobody else has any other question, then we'll go to the next slide. So whatever happened so far is that we are talking about in articulatory, and both in articulatory and in acoustic phonetics. When we are talking about speech sounds, we are talking about speech sounds in a very discrete manner, in the sense we are talking about the pa sound, right? And we are trying to characterize how the pa sound is made, and then I'm trying to show you the VOT of the pa sound and trying to give you the idea what kind of VOT will be there for pa sound, ba sound, etc., etc. However, in reality, what is happening is that the speech sounds are actually, speech is not discrete in that sense, right? um, and that is exactly why, because we have come to characterize all the vowels so well, but still when you go for automatic identification of the automatic recognition of the vowels, you'll still have errors. The reason being is that producing a vowel as a without any other environment around it is different, but producing a vowel in a continuous speech is very different. For example, when I am speaking to you right now, the vowels that you're hearing right now are not exactly the prototypical vowels that we have seen in the the IPA tables, etc. They all change due to several factors. One is that the speed at which I'm speaking. Secondly, what is in front of the vowel, what is the consonant before the vowel, after the vowel, etc., etc. So when we are looking at speech, rather than the speech sounds, they are not. The speech is actually not discrete. You cannot just break the speech into each individual part and try to characterize it. So what is happening is that speech is basically continuous, right? As we all know, as we are now seeing when I'm talking to you, when you are your brain is processing my speech, you are not processing as single units of consonants and vowels. What you're doing is that you're producing it as a continuous entity, right? So there is a difference between how so far we have analyzed sounds and what actually happens in speech. In real speech, which is connected speech where one consonant and one consonant follows another consonant very quickly. Speech, basically the basic characteristics of all the consonants and vowels considerably change. So there are two things that are happening in that case. One is that one consonant is going to affect the following consonant or the preceding consonant or preceding consonant or the following vowel, etc. And second thing is that there is going to be some target undershoots in the speech. In other words, what I mean by target undershoots is that let's assume that we all know that now the high vowels need, let's say if you have a vowel like E, it should have an F1 of 320 hertz, right? However, when you have that one the before the E versus when you have a sa before the E, the characteristics of the E changes. As a result of that, many a times, depending on what consonant you have before the E, its F1 may not actually reach 320 or 300 hertz at all. Right? So those are the cases where a consonant or a vowel is not actually very well represented. I mean, they are not in their prototypical shape. If you think about it, that is what is happening in handwriting also. So when you're writing something, many a times, there are basically like some random, how do I say, circles or random lines altogether, right? Because your handwriting has no clear, how do I say, a correspondence with the general, like prototypical letters of English or any other language that you're writing. So many times, how can you actually read the handwriting? That is from the context, right? If you know a phonetics, if you're in a phonetics class, and if you have written something with AR, beginning with AR, and then the rest of it is not very legible, you still know that maybe there is a great chance that that is going to be articulation, right? So we all basically work on this hypothesis, which we form using the statistics that we have gathered about a language in identifying either in speech or even in writing. So a lot of times how we hear, what we hear is not the perfect pronunciation. In a lot of the times, this non-perfect pronunciation is deciphered by your brain because it goes for the minimum, for the nearest match in that particular context. Fine. So this is what is happening. For example, if I say that the mouse is on the computer, you'd always think that it's a computer mouse, right? Considering the context that there is a computer around here, right? However, if I say that the mouse is being chased by the cat, you would think that the cat is playing with the mouse. You'd never think that it's a computer mouse, right? So a lot of times, how you decipher kind of speech or handwriting or any kind of information that is given to you is from the context that they are presenting. Okay, so that is why so far how we have treated speech is kind of a little bit unfair considering how speech is produced in the real world. In the real world, speech is not produced in discrete units. In the real world, speech is produced as continuous units, right? And as a result of being being continuous units, their characteristics or acoustic signatures associated with the speech, the phonemes in speech, they change considerably. And this is also another area that we study in phonetics. Okay, any question or comments at this point of time? No question at all? No question at all? Fine. If you don't have any questions, then we can go to the next slide now. Before that, can I ask you to go and like give your attendance right now? Okay, the sheet is now closed, and then as I was saying just now, so when we are producing speech in continuous fashion, then there are influences of the other consonants or the vowels nearby it, and also there are many cases when the speech sound is not able to express itself fully. Right? In that case, it is called target undershoot. Now, I'm going to have a look, show you something here. For example, this is, if you look into this, this is basically the. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here, when you are looking into this particular spectrogram, what we are seeing is that there is a consonant there, which is a stop consonant, followed by a vowel, right? So I think, by now you should be able to guess that this part is the stop consonant and this part is the vowel, right? And if you look closely here, this is a narrowband spectrogram. If you look closely here, this first line, the dark line here, is the F1. The second dark line here is the F2. Right? Okay. However, what you actually would see here, if you look at it very closely, what you'll see here is that there is a little bit of change in the F1 at the edges. When you have the consonant here and wherever the consonant ending and the vowel starts, you can see that the F1 is not actually straight. There is an upward movement, and only then the vowel formant goes straight, and then towards the end of it, the vowel formant again goes down. Right. So now this is called the Formant transition. Very unsurprising that it is called Formant transition. So basically the idea is that whenever you have a consonant before a vowel, right, depending on the characteristics of this consonant, the vowel formants will change. Okay. Now, one of the things that we have been talking a lot in the past is that the time that is taken for a consonant to be realized. For example, a stop consonant. How long, what is the duration of a stop consonant? Let's say you can give me answers to this question by using cases of different stop consonants. Let's talk about unaspirated stop consonants. How long is an unaspirated stop consonant? Unaspirated voiceless stop consonant. Priyanshu Bhanu has a question there, sir. Will you please consider our slow internet issues ever? I missed my attendance 3 times because of slow internet, as the form did not got to open, and when it opens, you close it. Okay, yeah, but like the same is with me, right? I cannot control my internet connection is also so bad. I'm using IIT Guwahati internet connection. My internet connection is so bad that I even don't even know when the form is open and when form is closed. Will you ever please consider my also issues that I am facing here as a teacher? Right. And I would like strongly encourage that you, if you feel so strongly about it, you should write an email to the deans and all the people that the issues that you are facing. Right. I am not here. I am not a chowkidar, or I'm not a great. I'm not a gatekeeper here that who is like to take attendance all the time. Right. But I am made to do that. Right. I have no fun in making life difficult for you. Okay. You don't know about IITG internet. You don't talk about it, please. I have 14 Mbps. What are you talking about? Right. And with like 20 people going on, it is not this thing. So it is frustrating here. Don't make it more frustrating for me. Okay. If you feel so strongly about it, I think you should write to the people. Right. Okay. So
One thing. Actually, could you please, instead of opening it for 30 seconds, open it for 1 minute? Actually, uh, like previously, my attendance also got missed because of,
that
slow internet.
that that is a better way of making a request.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So,
Thank.
sir, please, can that be possible?
Okay.
Like, open
Sure.
it for a little longer time.
Sure, but when you blame somebody that I don't understand your this thing. I mean, what is this? People are cheating in exams. People are doing everything that they should not be doing, and I should be always be tolerant. That is not gonna happen.
Yes, sir. So actually,
No,
I think Priyanshu also meant that ki,
that I'm not
just
talking.
open it for just a little more time, sir, instead of
No,
30 seconds.
no, I got it. I got it, Siddharth.
Thank
But
you, sir.
that is a better way of making a request rather than blaming people like as a villain, as I'm here to make everybody some go through some sort of torture. That is not my intention. But again, I did not invite you to come to this class, right? So I do my teaching for my fun, right? And then so that I can understand like people, I can impart whatever I know to the people and make you all interested. I don't want a bunch of people who just switch it on, go somewhere, have fun, and they are not even interested in a single thing that is happening in that class, and still arguing their way out to get a passing grade in that class. That is not going to happen. If you wanted to take that, you still have time maybe to go to another course. As simple as that. And I'm not taking. Please don't take it personally. It is a general this one point. You go ahead and you try to internalize it. Okay. And also you can always send me an email. I have asked people to send an email, and there are people who have been sending emails to me regarding this. Right. And I don't know how. I mean, we can go on talking about it forever. I don't want to encourage that. Okay, if you
No,
don't,
so sorry, we didn't mean it that way. Like, I think more time for the form, like, if we can extend it to 1 minute, that would be great.
you have written whatever you want to say. So I think I understand that. I am in a different mood now. I am talking about format transitions. I don't want to talk about attendance. I think we take a 30-second break and then we come back. Okay, great. So any question about Formant transitions? I guess not. So, okay, anyway, so now what we are looking at is that what I was telling you is that these formants basically they are not always in the generally in the same steady state, right? At the beginning of a consonant, at the end of a consonant, when the vowel begins, there is some changes that are they're captured in the like a vowel format. And then I asked you the question what is the usual generally what can be considered as a duration for a stop consonant, a voiceless unaspirated stop consonant? So I'm still waiting for that answer. Anybody wants to take a guess and tell me what is what can be a duration of a stop consonant, voiceless stop consonant?
Sir, the total spectrograph is about 400 milliseconds, so the stop consonant looks like about 75 milliseconds, maybe.
No, that is not the question. The question is that in a voiceless unaspirated in a voiceless unaspirated stop consonant, what is the usual duration of a voiceless unaspirated stop consonant? That is the question. Forget about the one that you're seeing right now. Anybody wants can answer that? Let me pick some people then. Devanshi, Siddharth,
I don't know about this.
you don't know about what? Siddharth? Hello?
Sir, I don't know about this. Am I audible? Hello, right now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Sir, actually, I don't know the answers now.
Okay, fine. Anybody else? So, but we have discussed this, right, before. Do you not remember that? I'm surprised. Anybody else who remembers that?
Sir, I'm not sure, but I think we had discussed that for vowels, the time is around 100 milliseconds, and for the consonants, it's around like
No.
20-30 milliseconds.
Okay. So 20-30 milliseconds is not for consonants, but what we said is that voiceless unaspirated stops are usually 20-30 milliseconds. Right? It's a very incredibly small amount of time. Right? That is what we said. So in case you want to like compare it with how long a stop is, it is just maybe a tick, like only that much, right? So the question here that raises is that which we have raised before also, is that if a consonant is as short as 20 or 30 milliseconds, how are actually people going to hear and how do I say interpret them as the correct consonant? That is what the question was at some point of time. So here you can see the answer to that question. The answer to that question basically comes from the fact that apart from the consonant itself, some amount of information about the consonant goes inside the vowel as in form of some sort of vowel transition, right? So this, Formant transition. So this Formant transition is unique for all different types of consonants that are appearing before the vowel. As a result of that, very short consonants, right, are also recognized because of the vowel transition that they have. And I can give you an example of this here. For example, if you listen to this sound now, one sec, give me a second. Yeah, if you listen to this sound now, right, this sound is somewhat like but. Are you able to hear the sound?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you guess what sound it is? I mean, what is the word there? But.
Is it a but?
Yeah, right. And now what I'm going to do is that, so if you look into this now you can clearly see that it has two parts. One is the B part, right, which has this, like, pre-release VOT followed by a long vowel, right? Now what we are going to do is that we can simply go ahead and remove this VOT part, right, which is the consonantal information, right? And now I'll make you listen to the only the vowel part. Fine. But. Are you able to hear the consonant part now, or you're not able to hear the consonant part now?
So we can still hear it.
Okay, you can still hear it, but you already know that I have already actually cut the consonant part. So where is this consonant part coming from now that you are hearing? That is basically coming from the vowel transition, that information that is still retained, right? So in other words, it has been actually, it's not a very new experiment. This experiment has been done in the 1950s, where people have tried to cut this part, the initial part of a consonant, and when they played the vowel still retained the information about the consonant. So now that is why I'm coming back to the point that, see, when we have a consonant of 20-30 milliseconds, it may not be the case that only that 20-30 millisecond gives you the information about the consonant. The information about the consonant even continues into the following sound, right? And the following sound still has information which helps you to decipher what could have been the consonant before it. Fine. As a result of that, it again proves our initial point that speech production is not discrete, but it is continuous. Right? It is not the case that the information about the ba is written only in the ba. The following a also has information about the ba. As a result of that, apart from 30 milliseconds of the real ba, you get another 20-30 milliseconds of the vowel, which gives you the information about what the consonant was. Fine. Is there a problem to understand this? Is everybody in tune with this explanation? Anybody has any questions on that?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Is the consonant properties are on to the vowel, right? Is that the reason for this? What is the reason for this? Is that the formants take time to change? Is that
because actually, like, even though you that's a very good question. Actually, I should have mentioned it, but anyway, so the answer to that is that, see, our, like, the speed at which we speak, our articulators cannot actually change at the same rate, right? So while we are, like, still producing, like, while we are trying to produce the vowel, our articulators still takes time to adjust, stopping that previous consonant. So that's why some part of the information comes following, like, basically dissipates into the following sound. Right. It is the case that because speech is basically continuous, You cannot just binarily stop at that point that katak, you stop the consonant here and then you start the vowel, right? There are overlapping areas where the consonant is becoming a vowel and the vowel has actually already started taking shape.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, fine. Okay.
But
so basically, the whole point is that the articulators take time to adjust, which results in this phenomena called co-articulation. We call it co-articulation, right? You know what articulation is by now. So co-articulation is when your articulators are still performing the previous task, whereas the following task has already started. Right? This is an overlap. And these formats take time to adjust and to become stable, as we have said. So that's why when we were calculating the vowel formants, we were not calculating the vowel formants at the beginning or the end. We are calculating the vowel formants at the middle. The reason being is that we believe that in the middle portion is the part where it is least affected by the preceding and the following contexts. Right? That's why we are collecting information about vowels in the vowel middle area. Okay, so this transition that we see in the F1 and F2 at the juncture of consonants and vowels, it is called the Formant Transition. Okay, and these Formant transitions are very different depending on what kind of consonants that you have. Now consider, these are ba, da, ga, these are all voice stops, right? And on this side you can see the pa, ba, ma, these are bilabial, alveolar, and velar. Now, depending on what kind of vowels you produce, for example, when you're producing the ba sound with the a vowel following it, the a vowels formants would actually come from bottom like this and then become steady. From bottom like this and the steady. Similarly, like if you look at the da sounds one, then da sounds formant, the second formant will come from above and then become steady, whereas the first formant will come from bottom and then become steady. Fine. So basically, the F1 here is giving some sort of manner of articulation information, because you can see that F1 transition is the same across all the three, all the three same manners, right? Voice stops. Right. If you look at pa, again pa, ta, ka, because they are all unaspirated voiceless stops, they all have the same sort of formant transitions. Right. However, the F2 changes depending on the place of articulation. Okay. So this and this are same. F2 transition of pa and ba are same, but for da and ba or pa and ta are very different. However, ta and da are more or less the same. So now if you look into different kind of vowels, these formant transitions are again showing different variations. For example, D would have both of these, F1 and F2 will have the formants coming from bottom all the way to the up and then become steady. If you look into the do, then it says that do comes from up here and then becomes steady, etc. So what people have done is that people have tried to combine the two formants of the let's say the formant 2 of da when followed by da, but followed by two different vowels. One in case one is u, the other is e, etc. They have tried to combine these together and tried to estimate the point at which, if we extend the F1 or the F2 frequencies, the point at which these two will merge, and that is called the locus, right? So now what we know is that the imaginary point at which these two will basically merge, which is the locus value, is the one which gives you information about the consonantal quality. Right? So, for example, alveolar stops have a locus of about 1800 hertz. The bilabials have F2 locus of about 800 hertz, and so on and so forth. Velars have again two types because depending on whether it is front vowels or back vowels, velars also have one particular type of locus. So basically, this imaginary point at which you can say that where these F1s have originated from is supposed to be the basically the point where the exact identity of the consonants are preserved, right? So when we are listening to that following vowel part and trying to estimate what the previous consonant had been, just like we did in the class a few more slides ago, where we cut the consonant, but you could still hear the b. What your mind is doing is that your mind is trying to find out what the locus could be, right? And from that information, it is trying to estimate what the preceding vowel would have been, right? Now that is what is happening in our mind, right? Our mind, that is how our mind is working with the information that is provided. Now try doing the same with the machine learning. You'll see the same results. You feed all these different numbers of these Formant transitions into the machine learning system and try to estimate what could have been the vowel. This is what you're going to get the same results as what the human mind gets. And that is why when we are doing machine learning and speech perception, speech recognition, etc., we are trying to get data which is rich in preceding and following contexts. We are not taking only only single sounds, discrete sounds, and trying to model them, but we are trying to get continuous speech, which has all these different variations of consonants and vowels, which can be modeled as part of the modeling of the speech sounds. Okay. Okay, any questions or comments at this point of time? No question?
So what if both come from the bottom, like for the locus?
Sorry,
wouldn't it go like really below? What if both the transitions come from the bottom, F2 and F1? As in, in the context of the locus, so this would be kind of parallel, right?
Yeah, but that is not like, see, this is like, both are F2.
I'm sorry?
This is both are basically the F2.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what we are doing is that we are just looking at this and we are looking at this. So we are taking the two F2s of two extreme vowels. For example, like an E, which is the frontmost, and U, which is the backmost. And then we are combining these two. We are not
got it.
FI. Yeah. So hence there is like very little possibility that that would happen. Fine.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other question that we can take? No more questions? Okay. Okay. So basically, what we come to know is that these formant differences or these formant movements or these formant transitions, they have enough information about the place and manner of the consonants. As a result of that, apart from the consonantal information, we are also getting this co-articulatory information. In this case, this is the formant transition, and this co-articulatory information are helping us to basically identify different sounds. In fact, there were studies where they have shown that if you do not have any context or co-articulatory information, then human beings' perception of speech sounds is almost equal to chimpanzees' perception of speech sounds. So what we have seen is that F2 transitions gives cue to POA. Okay, so now this is like, I have put it in red because of a reason, because now you'll see that this, in the next section, you'll see this word cue is going to be a very important word. Because what we know is that when human beings are processing speech sounds, they have different cues such as F1, F2, Formant transitions, durations, etc. All of them work as a cue in order to make them identify one particular sound. F1 transition gives cue to the manner of articulation, right? So there is enough information in the transition regions for consonant identification. So these are the points that I wanted to make. And the whole idea here is that speech is not discrete, number one. Speech is continuous. And as speech is continuous, there is a huge probability that a lot of information is basically co-articulated in speech. In fact, if you're speaking really, really fast, then you are only having you're only giving out co-articulatory information, right? And that is why we sometimes have trouble understanding somebody if somebody speaks really, really fast. So speech is also deciphered mostly from co-articulation. So that is exactly also why your automatic speech recognition system would work better if you have a lot of information which is of different combinations with consonants and vowels, rather than only feeding them a, I, U, A, O, or pa, pi, pu, pe, po, etc. Okay, so that's all we have for today. If you have any questions about the last few slides, you can ask now. Okay, I see no question coming.
So what about the voicing?
Come again?
As in F2 gives the cue to the place, F1 gives the cue to the manner. What about voicing? Like, do the transitions have any information about the voicing?
Voicing is mostly VOT, right? It's a temporal information. There is very small, less spectral information in terms of voicing.
Got it. Thank you.
But again, talking even then, saying that voicing would also be would also have following fundamental frequency cues. Okay, so that is something I am not telling you now. For example, I'll quickly draw it and try to show it. I don't have my pad today. So, for example, when we have a ba versus a pa, the fundamental frequency of a would be like this. Right? In case of pa, it will be like this. Right? Because it's a voiceless sound makes the initial fundamental frequency associated with the a to come from a higher point, higher fundamental frequency, and then normalize into a level fundamental frequency. In case of ba, it basically depresses the fundamental frequency, and then in case of a, it again normalizes into one level. Right? And that is the reason why languages like Chinese, what happened is that this VOTQ, ba also became a pa, right? And that is why the word Q is important. Ba lost its VOT and only pa is remained. But the Chinese people started to give Q more importance to the fundamental frequency Q. As a result of that, they started to have two kind of words, one with a high fundamental frequency, one with low fundamental frequency. I don't know if it makes sense or not. We can always talk about it. It's an interesting story. But what I'm trying to tell you is that in many languages, tone languages, they actually, as I have said, that the information about whether it's a ba or a pa, there are a couple of cues. First cue is the VOT. Second cue is the fundamental frequency, right? People usually give more importance to VOT, right? And decide whether it's a ba or a pa. But in many cases, what happens is that these cues, they get flipped. The VOT cue becomes totally unimportant and fundamental frequency cue becomes more important. And in those languages, when fundamental frequency cue becomes more important, those languages immediately change to tone languages like Chinese. I don't know if it makes any sense at this point of time, but it's generally the idea. Is there a question, Shashwat?
No, sir. It's like it kind of makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions at this point of time? Okay. No. In that case, we'll just leave for today and see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, sir.